Today, I will be going over my $4,100 portfolio on the Robinhood app. And as you can see right now, it's almost actually up to $4,200, but might get there in the next week or so. But anyways, guys, before I get into the video, if you haven't checked out my channel before, I talk about investing and the stock market. So if you're interested in anything like that, definitely head over into my channel and consider subscribing. And one thing to note as well, I recently changed the name of my channel from Investing Potentials to my channel. So don't be alarmed by that or anything. I actually saw quite a few people unsubscribed to the channel initially, and then the next day I had probably the same people resubscribing to the channel because they realized I just changed the name a little bit. But I'm still going to be talking about the same content and everything. And another quick thing as well, a lot of people ask what app I'm using right here. It is the Robinhood app, and you can buy and sell stocks for absolutely free, no minimum deposit or anything like that, no hidden fees. And I've been using it for a little over a year now, and it's been really great so far. So if you're interested in downloading the app, there's a link to it in the description. And if you use that link, or really anyone else's referral link, I don't really care if you use mine or not, you will get a free stock when signing up. But anyways, guys, getting into the video. Over the past month, up about 6%, 1 week, up about 3%, and then 3 months, 16%. It's been up and down quite a bit. But anyways, if we scroll down here, my portfolio is actually broken up into sectors. So starting off in the tech sector, the first one I have here is Microsoft, 2 shares of them. Nothing's changed with them except I bought a share somewhat recently. But next is Facebook, which I now have 2 shares of. And because I was up so much on Facebook, it upped my average cost a little bit, but that's not really a big deal. I still expect a lot of future growth from them. Next is Twitter, and I'm up a whole lot on Twitter, 71%. And I called Twitter out in, I think it was December, November area, and basically said, yeah, they're getting much, much closer to profitability, and I could pretty much guarantee in the next 2 earnings reports or so, they probably will be profitable, and their user growth is going up. There's a lot of good things around them, and I was really right on with that, and there was a lot of good things in their past few earnings reports. So Twitter has been performing very, very well, 131% in the past year. Moving on to the next stock, AT&T. I have 2 shares of them. This is just really a dividend stock, over 5% dividend yield, so that is very high. Next is Intel, ticker symbol INTC, up about 50% on them. Still only 1 share, not necessarily a tech stock I want to put a whole lot of money in, but still a pretty solid one overall. Next is Apple, moving on to consumer goods. I have 1 share of them. If I, am to add more money to the portfolio, I'd probably pick up another share, but unfortunately I didn't have any money to deposit during this little drop right here, but I'm sure there might be another drop in the future, so we'll just have to wait and see, and if there is one, I will definitely be buying in on Apple. Next, these ones are just referral stocks, actually, Zynga and Groupon, so nothing really much to say there. Next is PepsiCo, ticker symbol PEP. I am actually slightly down on them. Not that that's a big deal. There's pretty big recent price drop, but I didn't really want to necessarily add more positions to them. Next, which is actually new, is Coca-Cola, ticker symbol KO. Pretty solid, safe blue chip dividend stock right here. I just got that for a little bit of safety and for their dividend yield, and because honestly they're at a pretty decent buying point. I bought them at around $43 or so, so they had pretty significant drop, so I thought they were at a great buying point. Next on the list is Colgate, ticker symbol CL, another somewhat recent addition to my portfolio, up slightly on them, but another blue chip stock that has a pretty nice dividend yield and was actually at a really great buying point right here. Actually, right on the year, really don't think it was going to go much lower than what I bought it at, which was actually $69, so that was really just a great buying point overall. The next stock is Nike, ticker symbol NKE. I have 2 shares of them. Nike will be definitely be another stock that I'll be adding more shares of in my portfolio. Average cost $55, up a bit on them, and I added one somewhat recently, or at least another share of them. Next is GM, which has been down recently, and it's probably because of the whole tariff ordeal going on. Still have a really nice dividend, pretty solid company overall. I like a lot of stuff they were doing. I've talked about them in the past. Stuff with new electric cars, moving into AI, things that the new evolving car industry need to start doing before Tesla kind of overruns everyone. But moving on here is Netflix, and I think Netflix is by far the biggest mover in my portfolio, 115%. And I've owned Netflix. If we look, I used to own 2 shares of them, I believe, but I sold one just because I think I was like withdrawing money from my portfolio. But my first buy was at $143. My average cost up here says $150. So Netflix has been doing very, very well. Still continues to grow at a massive rate. Next is McDonald's. I thought about buying another share of them because had a pretty dramatic drop right here, but once again, a little bit of a pricey stock. Just didn't necessarily have money to put into the portfolio at that time. Moving on, I'm moving into the services and consumer services sector of my portfolio as well. But next is Walmart, and Walmart was at like a major price dip. It still is pretty low as well at $87 right here. I bought them a little bit high, around like this range over here, but I obviously didn't know how low they were going to actually dip. But either way, I added 2 shares of them. Average cost $94, not bad at all. I definitely think over the next couple months they're going to move past that $100 range again, but still a good blue chip dividend yielding stock nonetheless. But moving on is Starbucks, ticker symbol SBUX. Starbucks, I have 3 shares of them. Really like Starbucks a lot. I don't think I was averaging down on them. I think I was just kind of buying them, but just because I wanted to add more position in them. They were at a decent buy-in point, still at $54, $55, and they are up a little bit since then. So it was a good price that I got them at. Especially if you look here, there aren't too many dramatic dips there, and I was able to swing in some shares of them on one dip. But Starbucks, another company that I'll definitely be adding a bigger position in the future. Next is 3M, ticker symbol MMM. Up a bit on them, 15%. Only 1 share of them. This is just my industrial section. This is just a blue chip, solid dividend yield stock once again, which makes up a decent amount of my portfolio. But at the same time, in the future, once I start adding more money to it, I will definitely not necessarily focus on some of the growth stocks, but just focus on stocks I like better, like 3M. I think it's a great stock, but not one I'm going to add like 10 shares of in my portfolio or anything like that. But they were actually on a recent little dip here as well, but they still have had pretty great growth over the past couple of years. Next is Boeing, which is an industrial stock that I like probably the most out of any stock in that sector, honestly. Boeing, bought it at $200, up quite a bit. Not my highest one, but still 76% is very, very high. And they have actually a pretty decent dividend yield as well to add on to that. If you look in the year, up almost 100%, and 5 years up almost 400%. And honestly, if, at the beginning of Trump's election, I could kind of guess that a stock like this was going to go up quite a bit. But there's actually been some recent talks in the news with Trump possibly meeting with North Korea. Not that Boeing has like a major influence in that like specific industry that might be impacted by whatever talks go on, but obviously they have a decently sized influence in the aerospace defense industry. That's pretty much what they are. But another very large part of their business is just commercial airplanes and just generally airplanes in general. Oh, wow, that sounded a little bit weird. Airplanes in general. So even if something does happen with that, they might not get as impacted because they do have profits and sales elsewhere. But still Boeing, great grower this past year. And a great grower in my portfolio. Moving on to healthcare is Johnson & Johnson. I have 2 shares of them. One of the safer healthcare stocks out there, obviously $350 billion market cap company. Pretty large PE ratio though there. I'm not 100% sure how accurate that is, but dividend yield 2.38. And I have, as I said, 2 shares of them. Definitely not a grower, but solid value company right here. Next is Pfizer, ticker symbol PFE. and I have 2 shares of them. And if you're looking to get into like the healthcare, like biopharm industry, this is a stock you can take a look at if you don't have a very large portfolio, because it's only at $36. Definitely not, once again, a grower, but they actually have a nice dividend yield, 3.5% right around, and overall pretty solid stock. But next is AbbVie, ticker symbol ABBV, and this is a stock that is a grower. And if you're interested in, once again, getting in the healthcare sector, but with a stock that is probably pretty safe, but also has really great growth, AbbVie is definitely a stock you can take a look at. That is honestly, for how big it is and how, how just pretty much almost like a blue chip stock category, you'd be surprised at how well AbbVie is able to grow. But if you look at the company, the products they, put on the market, their biopharm products, everything like that, then you'll see, you're not really that surprised how well they're performing. Next is Apple Hospitality, APLE. This is just a monthly dividend stock here. Not going to sell this one for a little while until obviously my total returns up a little bit. But if you take the dividends into account, I think I'm close to the green. I don't know if I'm there quite yet, but I am definitely close. That's just monthly dividend REIT. Next is PayPal, which is technically a financial stock, but you could also consider this probably a tech stock as well, because it's obviously solely based on technology. But PayPal been performing very well. I think it will definitely continue to perform well. But moving on here, next is Morgan Stanley, ticker symbol MS. Once again, still in the financial sector. I honestly like Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. There's a lot of good banking financial stocks out there. I don't think it makes like a huge difference who you pick necessarily, but I just chose Morgan Stanley because I personally like them the best. But next stock, obviously Bank of America, I like them too. But honestly, when I bought them, I just thought they were at a really good buying point at like, I believe it was around here. No, it was actually earlier than that at like $26. I think it was actually around here more. I thought they were at a very good buying point, and they have grown quite a bit since then. Next stock on the list is KeyBank, still in the financial sector. KeyBank, this is just my personal bank, honestly, and overall as a stock, it's not bad by any means, but I'm just buying this because it's my personal bank, but it does have some good things about it as well. Next is Gladstone Capital, once again, another monthly dividend stock. This has technically down on total return, but with that dividend yield added in, that is very high, actually almost getting into a dangerously high region. And I'm up quite a bit. If we scroll down here to dividends, I am up. And honestly, my dividends vary because sometimes I just buy a share or two of them if I know like I have extra cash laying around, because it's better being with a company that's giving out monthly dividends than just sitting at cash, in my opinion. But anyways, moving on. Next monthly dividend stock I have is Main Street Capital. Once again, down a little bit, but once you add in those dividend yields, I am up on them actually. But nothing special about them, just a monthly dividend stock if you're interested in that. But next is Realty Income. Once again, another monthly dividend stock. Down a little bit on them. I actually bought it in because they're at a very good buy-in point, but I didn't wait long enough for the dip, which is okay. I'm sure they will come back. Next is Dow DuPont. Dow DuPont, I think, is actually very undervalued what it's at right now, and I definitely think it has potential to go up quite a bit more. One of my favorite stocks in its specific sector, because I like Dow and DuPont before the merger. If you're not familiar with the stock, they merged around September, so they were just 2 separate companies that merged together. But moving on, Southern, down a bit on them, but that's expected. Just a dividend stock right here, not expecting great returns by any means from them. Then moving on to the ETFs, I'm going to try to hurry this up. SPHD, monthly dividend, monthly dividend stock that has like high dividend, low volatility portfolio that it tracks. Next is VU, just simply tracks the S&P 500, up a bit because the market's been up recently. Noble. This actually tracks the dividend aristocrats. So I think that's it for my portfolio. Yep, that's it for my portfolio. So as I'm closing out here really quickly, I'm just going to close out the video. Like I said before, if you haven't checked out my channel before, I talk about investing in the stock market. So if you're interested in that, definitely head over onto my channel and consider subscribing. And like I said before as well, I recently changed my channel name, so don't get worried. I'm still talking about the same stuff and making the same kind of videos. But Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and comment below what you think about my portfolio and what are some other stocks that you think I could consider adding to my portfolio. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching.